Hey, everybody. So today was a great day in the stock market. Obviously, we did a ton of trading today. A lot of the stuff that's in the newsletter crushed it. But this video is going to be about what I consider probably close to 30 stocks, or the top 30 stocks that I was asked to follow today, to look at, to review, and ones that I think are going to be actionable for the listeners, for everybody that doesn't either follow me on Twitter or Reddit, but just ones that I think are really going to move in the coming week. And we're going to really drill into these and get pretty in depth. To start with, we're going to be in alphabetical order. I do not have time to put these in timestamps and go through this and timestamp all these for you. So I'm just going to do it in alphabetical order. If somebody ever wants that job where they're going to timestamp these, I'll put it in the description for you. But I just don't have the time. I trade full time and have other outside activities. But let's just get into it here. The first one we're going to look at, again, alphabetical order here. So AI. And I picked to look at this one because I think this is interesting. It's also a really quick lesson here for people that have been trying to learn or want to learn this. A lot of what we do here is we go over ideas, but I also want you to be able to find your own ideas, right? Not just need to listen to me. I mean, the goal should be for you to be able to do this on your own, right? That should be your goal, to be independent. So anyway, let's just get into it here. This RSI, I'm going to say something. We did a video on RSI, and some people have watched it. Some people have not, obviously. There's a billion people on YouTube. Consider watching this video and understanding how to use RSI. I'm going to say something. RSI is pretty much the only real leading indicator that's out there. Okay. As far as an indicator goes, it's really one of the only leading ones. There are, quote, market timing things like Elliott Wave, DeMark, things like that, but they can change because they negate or don't negate. What RSI is it measures the magnitude of a move. So by determining the magnitude of a move, it's essentially getting you in front of something, right? So just think about it that way. But for those that followed it, they'll see, or have watched this, they'll see how we've undercut this, jumped across it as we're hitting lows. This has been bouncing and going up, right? We can see that now. Not only that, but you have that positive divergence that I tell you to look for right here. See how the stock's at 73.70 and RSI is here. See how it's here. Okay. Now watch this. All right. So you have a trend line right here. Okay. Now, as everybody knows, to see if you have a true trend, what do you have to do? You have to clone these. Okay. So there's your channel. Okay. On your RSI. What's the stock doing? Nothing. What is this? A leading indicator. What's supposed to happen? This should break out. So like when people are asking me, how are you spotting these before they move? This is one of the things, one of many things, but this is one of the things that I do. And this is telling me that when I break 73 3/4, the magnitude of this move is going to increase. This counts magnitude of the move. It is telling me the magnitude of the move is going to increase. Okay, so I need a 73 3/4 break. That's going to take me to 85, 86. Okay, your 50-day moving average is going to be an issue with this stock, specifically because of the earnings report last quarter. Institutions are not going to want to be in this. The 50-day is where they will continue or look to sell the stock. So that's that one. And for something like this, you can just see. Now, this was when I called out on Twitter yesterday, right? And I want to hammer this point home. When stocks are basing, there's more value in RSI. Okay, or when they're going to roll, there's more value in RSI. When stocks are just going up, there's very little value in RSI, right? So it's also important to understand to use the right moves at the right time. So in other words, you need to know which indicators to use at the right time. And when you're in an upward trend, yeah, you can use RSI, but it really doesn't matter that much. You're much better off using other indicators that we can get into at another time. We could spend hours on that. So APPS was one that we were going to look at here, and I just want to review this. I think that you could argue this. I think you could have made an argument for here on the stock. Okay. So here you had a bullish engulfing. People recognize that from that candlestick pattern that we reviewed, and those, how candlesticks works pattern that we went over, that video. And you can see that, right? You can see that bullish engulfing. This bar engulfs this bar. This one's green. This one's red. So that's really what you need to look at. And to me, that's really important because it happened on a support line. You undercut it, bounced, a double bottom, and now you're going higher. Now, here, this is where we thought it was going to break out, and it did not. Okay, it did not break out. It came back down to the base. So you can see how these three lines cross. This doesn't mean that those lines go away. Now, I still have the 21 and the 50 pointing down here. This is not exciting to me, and I understand that these are moving, so people want to be involved. I still have this upper channel line I have to get through. I have this downward trend I have to get through. There's too much noise. There's too much nonsense here. So for me on this one, it's just sit, watch, and wait. I wouldn't touch it right now. So this is one I went over in the video the other day on the short sell video, squeeze the shorts. And it's interesting. If you go back and look a week ago, it's very interesting to watch these videos. These short squeeze series that we've been doing every Sunday. What's neat about them is if you save them in a watch list, and I have them in a watch list. So if somebody wants the watch lists, I have them in TrendSpider in a watch list. I can just send them to you. I learned how to do that today. And that might make life easier for people. Like, hey, can I see this? So just let me know about that. I'm more than happy to do it. Send me a comment, Twitter, email, whatever. But what's interesting is this one is basing right now. But if you look at the ones a week later, so maybe I'm too far ahead. The ones that are this week, I have 3 of them that are up 15% today. So, just because they don't work this week does not mean you get rid of them. These people are still short them. So you just have to keep going through these watch lists consistently over the day, or periodically as much as you can. But anyway, back to it. ASO. I still like it. Nothing's really changed. You've rolled back under this wedge, but you're still above you're still above this breakout bar. If I got below this bar, I'd be concerned. 30 and a quarter. But other than that, I don't think there's anything to worry about. And we really haven't triggered yet. We're looking for that 32 and a half move and then that push to about the 36, 37 level. BNTX, look, this is pretty classic stuff. This was one that we recommended in that top 10 list to buy about 2 weeks ago. And we did it at like 120, I think. And then obviously it went to here. We stayed at the trim and then it did this. But for those that understand candlestick patterns and watch that video, you'll recognize this as what? An evening star pattern, right? So when this happened and then you broke here the next day, you almost have to sell. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to work. And what happened? It gapped down today, open, gaps down. What's it do? Gap fills, okay? You see the patterns that are repeating themselves the more that you guys watch these videos and girls. So, pardon me, just drinking a little coffee. So you can see here, right? You fill the gap and then boom, it goes right back up. Okay. Now as you go back up, now what? Now you have an all-time high close on the stock. Like it's pretty impressive. There's not really much more to say. Like this is just a monster. And I believe we're going to look at NVAX, or I was asked to look at NVAX. I don't see it in the list, but I'll do NVAX as well. And I'll try to do them in order. So I just have to remember that. But talk about strength. What do you do with it now? Honestly, if you go over a higher high tomorrow, right? So like here, let me just give you one way to look at this and one way to trade this right here. Okay. You get over 176 tomorrow. Okay. Which is this inverted hammer. Forget about this doji because it's been negated by this move, right? Technically, this is even a bullish engulfing because the body of this one has taken over the body of that one. It's like, it's really a very strong move and shows huge support for the stock. I can't stress it enough, but we're so overextended from like the 50 points where we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Break 176 and there's a trade there. There is a trade there. That can continue to move. That's a pretty powerful move. And today's action shows you that it's not over. So CCIV was one from the newsletter. And if you don't get the newsletter, it's free. There's a link in the descriptions. Click on it. Comes out 3 times a week. Actionable ideas, stock market commentary. People have done quite well with it, I think. So at least they're learning something. So we got in this at 20.5 with a $19.5 stock. Our target was $25. On Twitter today, I was pretty clear. And I try to, let people have to make their own decisions, but I was pretty clear about this one when we got into the 24s. Like, look, you need to seriously consider reducing the position at this point. We've done quite well with it. Yes, you're through the 21 day, but we just moved 20%, maybe take a little off the table because you're hitting a major resistance line right here. Now, with that said, one of the key things I've just explained to people is that when they're looking at these kinds of stocks that are basing, what should they be looking at? They should be looking at RSI, right? Just taking a look at it. It takes 2 minutes. Okay, and so what do we see here? Well, we see this peak here. That's interesting, right? And I haven't really ran this yet. Okay, so you see this peak here, and you see this peak here. Now, I'm going to give you one more piece of data with RSI, and I should do an advanced class. Okay, you'll remember this from like 5th grade math. This here to this here, this here to this here. Okay, so technically RSI is kind of telegraphing that this might be the move. Okay, they're kind of alluding to that you could have a move of that magnitude. See how you're down here and you're up here? That's what we refer to as a positive divergence, as everybody knows. Everybody that's been looking at RSI will be able to pick this up. And note how you've broken that downward channel of the RSI. And so this is telling you that we're going higher. That doesn't mean that I'm right. So you have to understand that and employ good money management principles. That's how the majority of people make money, is money management principles and respecting them. And so what you have to do is, and that's why I try to get people to understand, at 5 to 1, when you have risk versus reward of 5 to 1, you can be a moron and make money. I mean, Paul Tudor Jones said that, not me. And I just think if you look at what we're doing here, what I'm trying to get people to understand is, yeah, we risked $1. See the dollar that we risked up here? Yeah, we just made $5 or $4. So if I can do that 25% of the time, I'm profitable. And that's at a 25% ratio. So, and I have a video on that you can watch. But so what do you do now with the stock? Let me get to that before I go off on one of my rants again. So what do you do now? You have your trade on, you leave your trade on. I don't see the sense in chasing this. Where would I chase this? I'd get in this at $25. Get me over $25. I think this 50 day is going to be nothing. I really do. But you're dealing with a company that, and please don't message me on this, but you're dealing with a company that's pre-revenue. They're not selling anything yet. Okay. So, you're buying the hype, you're buying the hoopla, and, yes, it could be the next Tesla, but it could also be the next Nikola. So, and, no one can tell me any different because they haven't sold a car yet. There's nothing in production. There's no revenue. So I like the story. I have a position in the company, but we need to be realistic about what we own. So crowd, finally, right? We've been watching this one, and today it finally gave us a little bit of what we've been waiting for. And I think that's really important today to understand. We've been waiting for this move, and this close is pretty substantial. So I'm going to drop this down here, and you can kind of see that, even though you are in an uptrend, the basing here is kind of alluding to what's going to happen with the stock, right? But this RSI doesn't add as much value. So let's just do this just to make the chart a little bit better. And we'll come back to that when we need it. So let's put crowd up here, and let's really open this up because this is really interesting. So we based, and we tested, couldn't stay above. We opened, came down, cut underneath of it, closed at an all-time high. Well, all-time, I shouldn't say all-time high. We closed at a high over this section. Obviously, here is the all-time high, 251. But you can see what we're setting up for here. I mean, we're setting up for this. This is a clean base with a break. Get above these 2 bars tomorrow, these 2 peaks. There's actually 3 peaks there, aren't there? Hold on. Let's get into this. So it's actually 3 peaks there. So get above 225. And you're going to see more people step into that. So if you're trying to get into this, think of the 225 level. I do think you're getting back to this 251 level on the stock. I think it looks great. DM, today's the first day that you are above your 21-day moving average in over a month. Frankly, between here and here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this until you get above the 200-day and until you get above major, and this is major resistance. It doesn't get more major than this. You see this shelf here, see how it tested it here, see how it failed here. Until you close above 15.5 and you close above that 200-day, I wouldn't look at it. Get above that and you can push to the $18 level. But other than that, I wouldn't touch it. FUTU, look, today was the first day that you actually saw. Let me pull this down and let's get rid of this here. We had a nice trade in this and then they just pulled the flim-flam on us with the secondary and, cut us down. And we had a really nice trade there. But look, this is a bear flag. And let's just get rid of the indicators for a second. Okay, here's your flagpole. And this is a bear flag. I'm not excited by this at all. And I know people have done well with it and trading it, and congratulations, but it's not for me. You see how this is coming down and we haven't broken through that trend since this happened. I don't know where we're going. I hope we do go higher because there's some evidence that you may want to be in this. But until I get through this long red bar, there are much better ideas out there. I'm going to give you one right now that I think it just looks amazing in comparison to this. But let's just go through this for people that are interested. Yes, this is really good news that you're above the 21 and you closed above the 50. It's excellent news. To me, this long red bar here, there's just too much stuff here. 157's an issue. This trend line's an issue. So this is not something that I'm going to be involved in right now. So I think this may be in the newsletter, and I think I'm going to do it tonight. Actually, I know I'm going to do it tonight. I shouldn't say think. I know that it's going to happen. I was pointing this out this week, and I think this was in the top 10 that I looked at. And let me just go and take a look at that real quick because I hate to say something that's just not accurate. These are all the things that I look at or some of the watch lists that I have on this. Let me just see that video and then go here. Okay. Yep. Okay. So it was. What's interesting about this is it had to do one thing, and it's done that thing. Remember when we looked at this APPS and it crossed here on these three lines and it failed? Okay. And some of these, I want to do less stocks is what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to teach more and educate more. So that's really where I'm going with this. I think that format's a little bit better. So look at this. See how you are above all of this now? So not only are you above the top of this channel, not only are you above the support line, not only are you above this trend line, you're above every single close since this happened. Every single one since this wedge. Here, bonk, 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 finally push. Okay. And now you're deep enough down here. So this little deep thing from 92 to 100 tells me I have 8 points easy here, which if I count from here to here is probably going to be, it's going to be right around 10 points. So that's before I even have an issue. I have 10 points. So I think this is actionable here. We'll see how it opens tomorrow, but this is definitely one that should be on your radar. I really like that idea. GMBL, I was asked to look at. By looking at this, frankly, it just looks awful. The best thing about it is that it has held the 200-day moving average and not broken it. Let me just get rid of that for a moment. And let's just pull in the RSI and see if that can give us a little bit of color on what's going on here. Hopefully that'll give us something, some love, right? So let's just take a look at that. No, it's giving us nothing. I mean, it's giving us no indication that anything's going on. Look at this trend line on the RSI and how that comes down. So you're not even out of the downtrend yet. So I would avoid this. If I was long this and I took out a new low of that 9 3/4 line, I'd be gone. It would not be something I'd stay in. GRWG. Look, we've had this trend line here for a week. Look what it's doing. It's just bouncing on it. RSI is not doing much. We can leave RSI in for this because all we do is have one big base. Now, what is happening here? What do you see, right? One of the things that you'll possibly see is this. Okay, so you are forming this kind of wedge line, right? And this one hit, this one didn't hit. Isn't that kind of interesting how these two middle ones didn't hit? So this is going to do something. What that something is, we have no idea yet. So, and you see how these lines are flatlining? You know, DOA is what I call it. When your moving averages start to flatline, you don't want to be in the stock. It's not going anywhere. You want to be in stocks that have whose moving averages have a trajectory. Preferably the trajectory is up. So nothing to do there. KOPN, you know, this one was really disappointing. You know, you can see that you're not getting any love from the RSI here. And I'm going to leave the RSI in because the next 3 or 4 are going to really be helpful to have RSI in. You know, I have 12 different lines on this chart, and we all know why. You know, we were in this at 10 3/4 or 11, and we kept hitting this 12. And people will remember this. Maybe they'll remember this. But we were in this in the newsletter, and I like this stock a lot. And we bought it on this break. And we probably bought it right around here, right around 11. And then we came down, crossed, hit and bounced off, hit and bounced off. And I got to the point, I'm like, you know, it's 3 attempts and we can't get above it. Just blow it out. Now, what was the key on that where we finally saw that we were right? When we did it on this one, look what happened the next week. We broke this rising channel, and boom, there's that frozen rope pattern. And then we came back down here and we tested support, and now people are getting all excited. But look, I mean, here's the thing. You're at the 21-day, you're at the 50-day, and you're at the top of the downward trend line. Why would I buy this? There's no reason to buy it now, right? And I just moved, you know, you just moved from 7 to 9. I mean, that's what, 27 and 28.4%. Like, why do you got to be involved now? It's too late. So what do we do about it? We wait, and we wait for it to flip over the 50, over the 21, which we've already kind of done, haven't we? Right? We've already done that. Flip the 50, flip the downward trend, flip this line right here, which looks like 985. Now I have something that I could look at, and I can push to this 11. You might have $1 there, but the real level you have to get through here, as you can see, is this 12 bucks. I mean, that's your real nemesis on this stock. Now you've based long enough, maybe the third time's a charm. LABU, you know, this is just typical. And this is why I wanted to leave this in. So again, this is a leading indicator. It doesn't always work, but you can see how we are in this base and how we've broken out of this base. Now I'm going to get rid of all these horizontal lines here because they are really not helpful. And neither is this trend line right now because it's in the way. So we're just going to look at this. Okay, so we got over the 21, and what did we do? We went right to the 200-day moving average. You're in a base, and you can see down here, I got rid of this horizontal line too. Okay, so let's put that one back. So here's your base, and here's our positive divergence. Now, what do? Nothing. There's nothing to do here, okay? The move off the bottom, we tried to play. We got stopped out. It happens. You need to let this thing build and base and at least get above the 200. For me, I'm not going near it until it gets near the, that level, that 94 level. I'm just not going near this again. I've been burnt too many times. There's still a downward trend line here. So I at least got to close over that line. There's too many other things that are working great. And if you really want to see something, you know, look at this. If you want to play like a 3X ETF right now, and, you know, let me just get rid of this. Everybody knows this one that follows the newsletter. And again, the newsletter, there's a link in the bio. Just click it. And it's also in the descriptions, and it's free. So what I just want to point out here really quickly is you have this enormous base here that's been basing since March. We broke out today. Okay, this may be in the newsletter. I have to spend a little more time on it. I guess I can look at it now. I mean, there's some things here that are really very compelling that if I wanted to be involved in this is a really nice spot to get involved. You know, we've tested this downward trend line, we've broken out, and we're pushing up. So TNA is something that should be on your list way more than LABU. I know people want to be in LABU because they want the big move, and it's the 3X. If you're looking for something like that, small caps I just think are safer. I mean, the relative strength on small caps, look at, and this is how you can determine relative strength just by looking at it. I'm above the 200-day, the 50-day, and the 21-day. I can't say, you know, I'm 1 out of 3 on that on LABU. So that's the differentiation there. So LAZR, everyone's getting excited. We broke 200. We bounced right off of it. We closed above this. We closed above this. This is what you want to see when you bottom. Okay, when you bottom and you cut, you want to see this kind of push. You want to see that they can't wait to get in it and you start breaking levels. And that's what's happening here. So to me, what would you do here and where's your entry? You have to get above the 50-day now, right? This big move's already happened. But what do you do now? You have to get above the 50-day. So you have to get above that. So where's that going to take me? It's going to take you to 26.5. You need a 26.5 move, and then you can take a look at it. And frankly, you should be going to, there's very little resistance. So if you break 26.5, you can get to 31.25 fairly easy. MGNI. So I don't know where that went. It was just here. Okay. So let's blow this back up. And you can see this downward trend here. You can actually see how it expanded from here. And you can see that you're finally trying to get above it, right? So, and we don't need this one anymore for right now. So you can see you're trying to get above it. There's a 21-day. You're above it. Your real pivot is here, but you are above that, and it could push. Your pivot's 42, 42.5. And that's going to get you right in here. I mean, look, you could play it here. And then you could play it here on a higher high. And then if you get below that 21-day, get out of it. This is MGNI. I mean, it's interesting. You know, you have the support here. What I don't like is just the decreasing volume. So net, everybody was aware that we were in this one in the newsletter, and then we got stopped, and then it went back up. And again, that happens. I got back in this. I was pretty vocal about it today on Twitter. Pretty clear. Look, this based, I have the 21, and I just want to go through this. I guess we don't really need this anymore. I would be most likely adding the newsletter again. Just moved before I could put it in there. Hopefully people got it from Twitter. So, you know, you based here, you broke out. You know, we just went through all this downward trend, and then boom, and then we took off, right? Now look at us. Now we're acting really well. And I think we're heading back to $95. I said this in the newsletter yesterday. Look, this whole section, look at this whole section. It just looks amazing. This is cloud, right? So what you want to see here is, look at this. Let me pull this down. This just looks like it's going to take out highs. I think this is the next subsector that really works, or next sector that really works is cloud. So with net, I look for a higher high tomorrow and look for a continuation. I'm in the trade, and I really don't see any reason that it's not going to $95, $96. NIO, we've been talking about for some time. It was in the short seller report about 2 weeks ago. You know, there was a trade here, and frankly, I missed it. And I'm just going to, I showed where that was. It was right here. There's a downward trend line that was here, and we broke that, and as well as getting above the 21-day, and then we broke above the upper trend line. So this has been giving you some clear indications that it's going to work. I just was in different names, so I just avoided, getting in it. I really wanted to get in it here. Now, the question people are asking me, what do you do with it now? Well, it's pretty clear what's going on, right? You ran right to the 50-day moving average. The question becomes now, do we get out? Does it move? Does it not move? It's a very simple trade at this point. It's up to you. If you should be up a lot in this. If you're chasing it today into that moving average, that's an issue, especially in the Tesla's earnings. So, you have to just use the low of the day as your stop on this bar. If you break that low of the day, right? If you break the low of the day here, you're going to the 21-day moving average. You cannot buy this. You really cannot buy this. I like the break, but you cannot buy this until you close above the 50-day moving average. That's just my personal opinion. NNDM. NNDM looks great. Look, Here's your 200-day, right? Here's your bottom. Now, people are like, why do I think this looks great, right? Even though it's bottomed. And again, I've been doing this a long time. So I've been doing it over 20 years. So when I look at something, I could pick it up a little quicker. So don't get discouraged at first. Just keep looking at charts. So here you are on your 200-day. Your 21 is turning. You're above the $8. Okay, you should go to the 50. I really don't think the 50 is going to be that big of an issue, but at this point, you can wait and see. I don't think you really need to. I mean, the way that this is moving, and look at the volume that came in, right, when we got to that 21-day, and look how it's been respected since then, getting above this. So this is doing what you need it to do. It's getting above key resistance points by the day. It's not taking long. It's just moving. And so, a higher high here, and this is going to continue. And I think your first stop is this 960 level. Get through that, and you get through 1192. But that's a very interesting trade. PACB, is it time to buy yet? I was asked. I just don't see it. You can see this by the RSI down here that it's not really moving that well. It's still in that downtrend. But also, this is still in the downtrend trying to break out. And if I get rid of these lines, let's just get rid of all these horizontal lines, and we can get rid of all these trend lines. Okay, what do I have going on? What is the 21-day, right? And even if I do this, it'll even exacerbate what I'm getting at here, right? Look at these moving averages. They're just flatlined, all of them. Why do I want to be in this? The moving averages are telling you that I'm not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Now, something could always happen, and that could change. But right now, this is not something that I want to be involved in. I would just sit, watch, and wait. And I know people are excited because BNGO moved today, but it's funny, no one asked to look at that one today. Interesting. Look, I put this out there as one of the top 10 ideas. This broke out today very clearly. You broke out and you broke above this base. This is still very actionable. I think you're heading to $86. With where this trend line is and what's going on here, it's a completely different kind of stock, but I just want to show you this. And I pointed this out the other day. Look, okay, this is a 12-year base on the XLF, which is the sector of financials in the S&P. That's a 12-year base. Like, that's insane. That's finally broken, and it's broken now. So that space is going to be pretty hot, and this is in there. And this chart is clearly telling you what's going to happen, and that's the monthly on it. Okay. To me, it's very clear what's going on here, and I expect this to go to $86. Look at the volume that came in here. It's just insane. It's just huge volume, huge buying. So SC, frankly, moved too fast for me to put it in the newsletter today. I'm working on some things so that I can get ideas out to people a little faster than the newsletter, and I have some ideas. People have talked to me about a Discord room. I will not do that for several reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But this broke out today. That 261 level, that was the breakout. We talked about this for a couple weeks, that this was the kill box. Okay, this was the squeeze. Boom, it broke, came right back over it. That was it. And now it's gone. Any pullback to that 261 level, and I will absolutely be looking at this. I don't know that I'm going to chase it here. There's too many other things that are breaking out. I think that 4 is going to be a huge move. I like this. I don't think this is done. I really don't. I think that this can go to 325, 330 even now with how this line keeps moving. But I need to get in at the right price. So, let's see what tomorrow brings, but SE should definitely be on your list. So skills we did great with. I don't know what this one is. Let's get rid of this one. I don't know why that's there. Get rid of that segment line. This is what we did today. So far we were up. I'll get rid of this. I don't know why it's doing that. But let's just get rid of it. We don't need it. So I stated to trim here, and I stated again to trim today. Look, I mean, we're in at $14. You're up 50% in 3 days, 53% now. Take something off the table. It was just what I was trying to get people to consider. I think that this is pretty substantial. The move on the RSI is indicative of this, and we are above this 2050 level, which is big. And there is nothing to stop us till about 24 3/4. So 24 3/4, $25, it will be in the newsletter, and that'll be the next stop or the next target on it. And I think it goes, and I would definitely continue to hold some. So, I think we did pretty well there. Snap, look, great earnings. They just came out tonight and said that they're going to do a secondary, but they're going to do it through a convertible bond offering. So the stock's going to come in because people are going to short the stock against the convertibles. So what you do is you buy the convertible, and then you short the stock against it, and then you just try to get the spread. So risk arb funds do that, and that creates pressure on the stock, and that's what's happening right here. So, just wait for that to clear up, and then you can take a look at it. Frankly, with this massive red bar selling that's coming in, this is not something that is indicative of something I need to plow into right now. I have to see what happens with it. So this was one I don't even know if I was asked to look at, but I definitely want people looking at this. This is very interesting. I don't want to get into, again, what I talk about here is more technical stuff, right? But you can kind of get an understanding of what's going on here. And now we're popping above this. This 21-day is curling and we're pointing up. Get me above this 50-day and you're going to see buying. And let me give you a price target on that, or a price to look at there. And I would not touch it until it gets there. 243, 240, call it 243 and a half. Is what I'd be looking for. And then you have this entire base, right, since March that's setting you up to push, to start taking these levels out. 280, 320. You could start getting through them again if this turns. Get above that 50-day. Get above that 50-day and stay above that 50-day, and that's going to be of interest. So SONO, I still think you're heading to this upper channel, this 50 line. We tried to get above the 42.10 today, and we weren't able to. For the rest of these, I really don't need this RSI. So we're going to get rid of it. I'll put it here. As always, consider subscribing to the channel, turning on notifications, because what we go over is actionable, but it's more importantly, it's timely. So if you're looking at this 2-3 weeks from now, you'll get a sense of how, or what I do, but it's just not going to be as relevant. So it's best to click to the subscribe button, turn on notifications if you find this helpful. There's nothing to do here. You broke above it, you went, and it went here. You have to stay above this line. 42 and 11 is like a nemesis for it, and it's finally above it today again, but it really needs to stay above that and prove that it's going to stay there. And I need to see more volume. Volume's falling off. Look at this, like the volume's falling off a cliff. We're in this from the newsletter at 38 1/4. We initiated another move in it. Look, this was a broken, and it broke today, and we're going to get rid of these. And well, I'm going to leave these in. So this long bar down was forming a bear flag. Well, that got negated today, didn't it? Right? How did that get negated today? I'm glad you asked. You see the top of this? As soon as you clear, this was your flagpole. This was the flag. As soon as you got above this point, right? 42.28. And where are we now? 42.21. What did we get above? 42.45. Okay. Once you got above that, okay, it negated the flag. Now you have some resistance points here that are coming in. So you have some resistance points here that are coming in. 43.30 is going to be an issue. This downward trend line is going to be an issue. And then, of course, you also have this 45 level. That's been an issue. But as you get above there and you start getting in this channel, this has just massive potential. No one asked, but I will throw this out there. And I didn't go through the chart because I wanted to limit what people were asking for. But I bought NVIDIA today. And you know what? I am going to go through that real quick. And I know it's out of order. We got, last time we were in it, we made 85 points. See how we flipped this line today? That tells me that we're going higher, that this is ready to go again. Now I have this little wedge down here, this one up here, breaking through this higher high. I expect this to push. Whether it does it tomorrow or not, time will tell. But I would definitely be watching the video. And yes, now we're out of order. And I would not be chasing the SOXL here. Let it prove itself. The 43.30 level is the first one. Look, TIGR, I went long it today. I'm not thrilled with what I see here. I'm not going to lie. Like I'm not thrilled with this move. This was its chance to break out and run. And that's not what happened. You know, we closed right near the 50-day. We are above it. And this 21 is curling, which is great. And we do have this base, but I'm just not crazy about the action, like at all. It really, every time it tried to get higher, it couldn't. And what I don't like, just so people understand, see this bar, and people know this from the candlestick. Okay, this is rejection of price. This is rejection of price. So I'm in the middle here. And what is this starting to shape up like? It's starting to shape up like a doji, right? And then this is starting to shape up like an evening star right here in a rising channel. So you see the rising channel? And let's just click this over here so you can see what I'm talking about. So as always, you clone these lines, and then wherever they fall, they fall. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that they are the same trajectory and same angle so that you understand where the true channel is. See the channel? Boom, right in here. Okay. So yeah, I need to get to I'm at the top end of this rising channel roughly, right? And I could roll here. So just be careful with this. I don't feel like we're out of the woods. I expected way more follow through today. Tandem, there's nothing to do here. You got to get above this 200-day. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. TNDM, this one I want to spend time on. This is big. Okay, what's going on here is really big, and I'm going to just explain it. So you had your downward trend here. You have the 21 pointing up. You have the 50 coming across. This 2150 is going to cross, but look what happened today. I forget who asked me about this one in the Twitter room, but or in Twitter, but thank you, because this was one that was been on my radar, and I just was not looking at it today. So you see how we're here, 395.59, boom, boom. Right? What are we above? That whole line. And we broke out. Now these are curling up. Let's get a little more color on it, and we'll throw in the 5 and the 8. What are they doing? Pointing up. What's the trajectory of the lines? They're going up. See how the difference between these curling up and some that are going straight? These are curling up. You're above here, 400. This is actionable just on a higher high. And there's very little in here now that we can get rid of these, because we don't need them. There's very little resistance in here, right? So I think, I don't know when earnings are. You can see that, and you can see that evening star pattern that pretty much solidified the top. I mean, it doesn't get much cleaner than that. But you're heading back to that 456 level. And I think you should consider that. I think there's 50 points here. Look for a higher high. It's a very simple trade. If you're wrong, on it, let's get rid of the 5 and the 8. I'll show you your stop. I mean, your stop is this 394 level. Get below that. That's a really tight stop. Some people might use 374. I'm not losing that kind of money on a trade. So 394 level, that would really be where you could look at that as your stop level. Williams and Sonoma, I don't know who's out there buying these pots and pans, but somebody sure is, and they don't really care what they cost. Look at this thing. It's just been a monster. You broke out here where last time is where we looked at it, and it's just been going gangbusters ever since. You came back down. You can't even fill the gap. You can't even fill the gap on this. Like, that's huge volume. And now you're curling again. Again, for an economy, it's not supposed to be doing too well. This stock's rocking. Get above that level. The 5 and the 8 would be helpful here, right? Yeah, look at this. Look at the cross. Remember that moving average video I did, that Trade Like the Pro series, the moving average of the 5-8 cross? Yeah, this looks great. I'd be all over this. Higher high. You're probably going back to here. And then you can see, like, you kind of get an understanding for where you might go with this, right? Get a kind of an understanding. You might get to this 205, 210 level. So I like this. I like that a lot. And finally, it looks like that's it. YALA. And, look, there's a couple things going on here. First off, we have way too many lines on here. So we're going to drill into this very quickly and get rid of these lines. Okay. Then we're going to get rid of all of this. I think we are. There we go. All right. Let's get rid of all these segment lines. Let's turn this off for a moment. Okay. So you should just be, get in the habit of trying to look at this stuff this way and look at simply price. Okay. I try to get people to understand this because this is really important stuff. But now you can just kind of go, well, where are we having issues? Well, we kind of had an issue here, didn't we? Right? Couldn't get above it. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Right? Finally, whoa, that's convenient. That just happens to fall right there. So it falls here. This is where price rejects it. Okay, so we have an understanding of where support level is. But now let's overlay this with it. Well, it can't go all the way back here, can it? Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Look at that, how that works. Okay, so now you have that line there. Look at this. So just off of that, you should be able to see that you have a velocity contraction going on here, right? See that? Okay, so far we don't need indicators, cloud patterns, you know, any of this stuff. All we did was look at price and determine what's going on here and seeing that this is forming a wedge. What does this wedge look like? Looks a little bit like SE, doesn't it? Kind of in a kill box. Something's going to happen. Now we're going to get into it. Okay, so now we're going to go there, and we don't really need the 5 and the 8. Okay, we're above the 21. We're above the 50 for the first time. All I need to do is get above this line. Technically, people are going to really want to see this now. They're going to want to see that higher high, 27.25. That's really going to be your level. You get above 27.25, you're going to see huge volume. There are a couple things here that you could look at on something like this. You see this huge spike here? I'm going to spend a little time on this one, just throw some other things out there. I got it. So, you know, if you go out there and you can use anchored VWAP, you know, I don't use it all the time, but it does have its place as one indicator that might be helpful. That's the best way I can describe it. But what you can see here is what you're doing is you're anchoring the price based upon the peak of the stock, and it shows you where everybody is roughly in, right? And that's just it's called anchored VWAP. And what's interesting about it is look where it takes you. Okay, it looks where it rejected. Look where it rejected here. And so getting above that could be what we need to get rid of all those people. And all this is telling you is where the sellers are. So I want to just give everybody a new indicator that wound up hanging out here for a period of time. But now let's really keep going. So let's get into RSI now. What's RSI telling us? Okay, so RSI is telling us that this is coming, right? See this? Peak, and then we're above here. So really what you're looking for is 27. What I would be looking for is a break of the downward trend. At that point, heck, I don't need to be in there for the point. I mean, you can do that if you want to be in for the point, but a higher high would be that move. If you want to do that, you're at $26. Okay. If you don't want to do that and you want more confirmation, you're at 27.25. And once you break that, quite frankly, you should head back at least to this level, which would put you at roughly 32. So that's it. Hope that was helpful. As always, message me with any questions or concerns you may have, and message me or comment in YouTube and let me know which one you found most helpful. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.